So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory, Abegwit. Mi'kma'ki is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. So, declarations of conflict is called to order. Declarations of conflict of interest. Okay, seeing none. So the agenda is there. We do have Mr. Adams on the line and Councillor Duran. Councillor Ramsey is not coming tonight because of a funeral. And we have not heard from Councillor Bernard. So we have 4A, B, C, D, and E. Need a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor McAleer, seconded by Councillor McKinnon. All those in favor, please put up your hand. Okay. Councillor Drawn?
In favor.
Okay. So water and wastewater utility resolution. Joshua McGinnis is here representing the department or the utility. Do you want to read it, CAO Eleanor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor Matard. Be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown proceeds with the procurement of a mobile generator and accepts the quote submitted by Turramont Cat in the amount of $112,330 plus applicable taxes to supply a 2023 Cat XQ60 mobile generator equipped and warranted as indicated in the bid. And further, that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Okay. Any questions? Do you want to add anything to it, Councillor Duran?
Do you want to second that?
No, that's great, Mayor Brown. There's a page there that gives all the reasoning why we're going out with this particular one. We can piggyback on Summerside's bid. They went out to tender, so hopefully it's all explained there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please put up your hand. Okay. Councillor Duran, yea or nay?
In favor.
Okay. Okay, we have a resolution under Parks, Recreation Resolutions. Do you want to speak to it, Councillor Tweel, or do you want to just let the resolutions go first? Okay. Want to read the first one, CAO?
Thank you, Your Worship. Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Resolution Number 1, moved by Councillor Tweel, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised request for proposals for the Parkman Park Trail Development, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $66,469.21, plus applicable taxes from Landmark Group Incorporated, and that the amount from Coles Associates Limited in the amount of $35,438 plus applicable taxes for engineering, project management, and professional services be accepted. And further, that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Can I speak to that, Mayor Brown?
Councillor Duran, are you in conflict?
Yes, I am. I read it, and I just didn't see who won the bid there, so I am in conflict of that. Sorry about that. I should have stated
That's all right. So Councillor Duran is in conflict, so he cannot vote. Councillor, oh good. Councillor Tweel, go right ahead there, sir.
This is another example of the city's commitment when it comes to introducing new trail development in communities across the city. So more specifically, the scope of this work is to construct a new pedestrian pathway to provide access from Alderney Court to Parkman Soccer Field. Council approved a total of $156,000 under the 23-24 Parks and Recreation capital budget for this project. 3 RFPs were received, and the department staff and Coles Associates reviewed the proposals, and the low bid from Landmark Group is deemed to be a fair price for the scope of the work and is within budget. Staff are recommending award of the RFP to Landmark Group. If awarded, the construction is anticipated to commence July 31st and be completed. This is another good news story for the city of Charlottetown as we try to fulfill our commitment constructing these pathways. This one is in East Royalty, and I certainly look forward to other trail developments throughout the city of Charlottetown. So this is fantastic, and I know our residents and all demographics certainly look forward to these type of developments and these venues where all demographics get an opportunity to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Twill. Councillor Beck?
Yeah, just so I'm clear, that's roughly $40,000 under budget. Am I correct? Looking at that total? Yep, thank you. That's nice.
Okay. Question? Question's called. Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. And Councillor Duran is in conflict, so 7-0. Okay. Yes, please.
Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Committee, Resolution number 2, moved by Councillor Twill, seconded by Councillor Matart. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised tender for central field light poles and fixtures replacement, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $412,000 plus applicable taxes from Hanson Electric Limited, and that the amount from Richardson Associates Limited in the amount of $9,125 plus applicable taxes for engineering, project management, and professional services be accepted. And further that the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Twill, you want to speak to it?
This is also an example of fallout from the Hurricane Fiona, damaging infrastructure like these light fixtures in Central Field. So as a result of the type of destruction, our staff, once again, made sure that this was included in the Parks and Recreation capital budget. Tender went out, and you see the result here tonight for your consideration. And I think with this new installation of these new fixtures, it's consistent with our policy to make sure that it is LED lighting, which I believe will be a cost savings for the city's corporation. Thank you.
Councillor McAleer?
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Just in reading the report details, just on the insurance piece, is there an anticipated amount, do you know, Councillor Twill, if the insurance piece works out, just what that potential reimbursement might look like? Thank you.
Councillor Twill?
Good question. I'm not really sure, but I know the cost of the project. That's the cost, and we're going to be making that request through the insurance. Where it'll end up, I'm not sure. Maybe Frank, if you can give any more specific details, if you could, please. I don't think we can give an answer right now, but I stand to be corrected.
Your Worship and Councillor Twill, Councillor, I'm actually unable to give an answer this time. We're making the claim, and it'll all depending on what the insurer deems to be the cost that they'll cover. So,
But
unknown
it's
at this
insurable,
time.
right? It was insurable.
It was insurable, but it's what they value it at. Whether they evaluate the new replacement, or they look at what the lights. They were over 30 years old. Over half of them are damaged. Having said that, once half are damaged, we can't install 30-year-old infrastructure. So once they assess it, then they'll give us a response on how much they will cover.
Just John, Councillor McAleer, just put your mic on. What's that?
Yeah, so it's in the hands of an adjuster, I assume.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank
good,
you.
Good. Go ahead, Councillor Twill.
But, like I said earlier, that's a good question, and we'll certainly be making the case. I know our staff will be extremely diligent and the reference to C in terms of a cost recovery, which only stands to reason. But as our manager said, it's hard to give an accurate answer here this evening as we get through the process. But again, I'm very enthusiastic about the replacement of these fixtures with LED lighting, and that is consistent with our policy and what we've done here with some of our venues, both indoor and outdoor. And again, the cost savings should bode well for the city's corporation. Thank you.
Okay. Question? Questions called. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay. Next one's CAO, Eleanor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Parks, Recreation, and Leisure Activities Committee Resolution Number 3, moved by Councillor Tweel, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that as per the recently advertised request for proposals for the owner's project management services for Simmons Sports Centre replacement project, the City of Charlottetown accepts the bid of $168,000 plus applicable taxes from Harborside Engineering Consultants. And further that, the mayor and CAO are hereby authorized to execute standard contracts and agreements to implement this resolution.
Councillor Tweel?
This resolution here speaks to making sure that we have on-site consultants with the expertise to ensure the city's interests are truly protected, to make sure that all the codes, all the procedures are being followed. This is a major project for the city. There's a lot of excitement regarding the new Simmons facility and the new pool, and we just want to make sure that everything is constructed in the most proper way and it's done properly, and that's why we're bringing this resolution here tonight. If you look at your rating system, this particular company had, I believe, the lowest bid, and the markings are on the second page. So I believe our staff did a good job when it came time to adjudicating this process. Thank you.
Any comments, Councillor Drawn? We can't see you, so we have to ask.
No, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Questions called? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay. Okay, planning resolution. Deputy Mayor, do you address this one, the next one? Or do you want to just read the resolution first?
Yeah, just read the resolution first, Your Worship. It's
Yeah.
pretty self-explanatory, and we've already.
Thank you. CEO Eleanor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Be it resolved that the request to update the resolution passed on July 10th, 2023, Planning and Heritage Number 2, as attached, to include an increased honorarium fee of $2,500, as was recommended and discussed in the Planning and Heritage Committee meeting held on July 4th, 2023, be approved.
Questions called? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Duran?
In favor?
8-0, so councillors, just 1 second. Okay. Councillor McCabe, next one, do you want to just read the resolutions and then we'll take it from there? Or what's your choice? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Works Committee Resolution Number 1, moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that as per the municipal property naming policy, Council approves the commemorative rename of the portion of Fitzroy Street from Prince Street to Great George Street, Carey Wynn Way.
Okay, just 1 second, Councillor McCabe, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. And, you know, I'm comfortable moving forward with the resolution as it is, but I do want to make a note that at our last Public Works Committee, we had discussion about the new naming rights policy that we just adopted. And I think we had discussed that we felt anything kind of naming needed to kind of fall back under the policy that was just approved not long ago by our council. So, you know, I don't think, and Scott, you can correct me if there was discussion, maybe I missed something, but I don't think that it's come back to council as an amendment to the original naming policy, and that was supposed to go back through strategic priorities. So I just want to make sure that that happens, because I think when we say we want to do things the right way, that when we have our policies, it gives us something to tie to, right? So that step's missing. Personally, I would have asked to defer this until that step happened, but that's just where I'm sitting. Thank you.
Councillor McCabe, do you wish to defer it if you want more time? It's like, you're the chair of Public
Yeah,
Works.
I am. And I
Yeah.
think it's just, you know, when you have discussions and people's interpretation of what the policy is, for me, naming policy, whether of anything, should fall under the naming policy altogether. It's just because we've always we're wanting to do things the right way. So for me personally, I'd like it deferred and followed in the right process. But if other people aren't comfortable with that, then I'm certainly not going to make it difficult, because I do support the idea.
Yeah, so you want to move the deferral? I will. Okay. Councillor Twill, you want to second that? Just turn on your mic there, please. Hold on.
I'll second the resolution as a member of the committee. Obviously, we still have more work to do. I know there's a lot of excitement, enthusiasm regarding Kerry Wynn Way. In fact, your father phoned me there. I thought the resolution was going to come forward at our last city council meeting. Apparently it didn't. It's here tonight. But, you know, just to paraphrase what our chair of Public Works said, we want to make sure we do things the right way, and there's consistency and predictability for all of our venues. And I think by getting it right the first time round, then we'll not have any regrets. I support the chair.
Councillor Beck?
I'll make it quick. Ditto.
Okay. So, Councillor Matart, just 1 second, Councillor Matart, click on. Yep, you're on now.
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe if we can, Chair of the Public Works Committee, or Public Works, what is it we're missing here? We did the policy update, and we have a new policy data. So what is it we're missing here? I feel like there's a
Councillor Beck.
component here that I'm not familiar with.
I think part of it, if you look at the policy, Councillor Matard, under Section 4G, under even the definition of property, property refers to city assets which are owned and operated by the city, including services, programs, activities, real property, facilities, in park features, etc., and other assets, but not including streets and roads.
But Councillor Beck, we're not renaming the street. It's going to be Fitzroy Street. It's just going to be called Kerry Wynn Way.
But it's still part of a street
Yeah,
that we are.
like Victoria Road and Richmond Street. Yeah.
Right.
Councillor Matart, is
So
that?
I would see that as being a direct, I would see it that way. Anyway, that's okay. That would be part of the discussion, I guess, in terms of figuring that out.
Councillor Matart,
Clear, but because I thought we had passed something and we put the application in, whether it's renaming a park or, because we had a lot of discussion around renaming a particular park, and we that's what drew out all this. And I believe we voted, we passed an amendment to that bylaw, and now we had something in place. So I was happy to see this and very supportive of this. But I'm not sure, I'm confused as to why we're maybe deferring it, and that's,
Okay.
so I must be missing something. I just feel like I'm missing a component of this.
Councillor McCabe.
And I could be too, because obviously it's not clear in the policy. If I'm not seeing anywhere, and it was agreed upon, where we name streets included in this policy part, right? So I think it just needs to. Here's kind of our criteria when we do, only because we've changed a few names here and there, and you just want it to be done the right way. I have no problem with this. I could support it tonight and
No,
move
no,
forward
that's-
with the idea that we're coming back and we're going to amend this anyway, because I'll be looking for that.
Okay.
But we also can do it the right way. And that should not take long. The next strategic priority.
No, we got a meeting coming
Special
this week.
meeting, and we could do it at that same night, with the resolution just coming at that night.
Question? Good? Okay. Question?
This is on deferral.
This is on the deferral, and then it'll come back in the August. Oh, Mr. Adams, Chief Engineer, can you give us your wisdom?
Yes, Your Worship. So just one thing on that too. So if there is already a street naming policy under planning for actually naming streets. I believe, and really the only thing needs to change into this policy that falls under strategic priorities is the honorarily naming of a street.
Yeah.
It just needs to include the streets and
That's what we
roads
changed.
because, like I said, the other policy already covers fully renaming a street legally.
Good?
And Scott, am I correct? He can't hear me. Scott, am I correct, though, that we did say that we were going to bring this back to strategic priorities before we did bring it to council, just to make sure that the process was followed correctly?
My recollection was we would send this to strategic priorities while still bringing this to council. I'd have to go back and confirm. That's just my wrong. He would have made that error. And we can go back and check the minutes for sure. But this deferral is fine. We can definitely proceed this direction if that is how council chooses tonight.
Okay, question? Questions, Carl? Okay, all those in favor of the deferral, please raise your hand. Okay. Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
In favor?
Okay, 8-0, so that's the deferral. Can you just put that down there, or do you want me to write that in, the deferral? Here,
You have it now, don't you?
I don't think I have it, do I? No? Sorry, I do. Okay, use of public right-of-way for e-bikes. CAO Eleanor Mohammed.
Thank you, Your Worship. Public Works Committee Resolution Number 2, moved by Councillor McCabe, seconded by Councillor McAleer. Be it resolved that the city agrees to temporarily permit the use of one parking space on Queen Street in front of Rising Tide e-bikes for the temporary parking and staging of e-bikes until October 31st, 2023 for a one-year trial. And that the business owner shall erect a temporary barrier around the parking stall. And further that the business owner shall pay a rental fee for the space equivalent to the amount charged to patio owners, prorated from the date of approval until October 31st, 2023.
Okay, do you want to speak to this, Councillor McCabe, to give the public clarification?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. A one-year pilot type of idea. He's trying to run a business. He wanted a space to promote his business. And I think with the work that's going to be done with patios and everything else, we can incorporate some of these ideas into that for a more permanent solution.
Okay. Councillor Matard.
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Matard, could you just stand, please?
Oh, we're,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
Just,
As I read through this one, I had a couple of concerns. One being kind of, a question I'll ask first is, have we accepted applications like this in the past? Like, I'm wondering using one parking space, for any other businesses within Charlottetown area. I'm not sure. I think there might have been some special cases made. I wonder if once we get down this road, there's going to be lots of businesses who are going to want to, maybe bring clothes out and some racks just to kind of have that, connection with the people walking on the streets. I'll admit I drove down here last week and I couldn't find a parking spot to save my life. And, I drove around and around and around. So I really think we're at a real shortage of parking spaces in Charlottetown. And I'm worried that if we start down a road like this, we might be opening up to other businesses who want to promote or do something out in that front space.
okay, Councillor McCabe and then Councillor Twill.
Good question, and I think that was the concern maybe from even our manager. And Scott, I'll let you speak to that in a minute. But I know that while we were waiting on the one-year pilot, we were hoping that the parking strategy initiative study that's going to happen might be able to bring some answers to those concerns and questions you have, and to be able to develop some sort of a consistent criteria around a policy moving forward. This was just for this year as a one-year pilot recommendation.
Councillor Twill, just before you answer, get up. Mr. Adams, do you want to say anything about a follow-up with Councillor McCabe as chair of the standing committee?
Certainly, Your Worship, I can elaborate a little bit more to Councillor Matard's questions. When he asked about, has there been other applications in the past? There have been a few in the past. I can't speak to all of them. I know our bylaw officer could, as he usually typically receives a lot of them, and he gets the initial request. And one in particular I can remember was a clothing store. It was denied on a couple of occasions that I'm aware of, just for safety concerns as well as the parking as well, because we had no bylaw around adding additional features or uses of parking spaces outside of the patio bylaw. And then the other question is, yes, parking is always a concern. We did receive feedback from DCI, so Downtown Charlottetown, and they had asked that we not approve it, just because, again, the two reasons, again, these parking spots bring in, there's a value to these parking spots for the local businesses. As well, it does impact the farmers market on Sunday as well, because it takes one more spot away from their vendors for the market.
Councillor Twill? Can he just, he wants to, go ahead, Councillor Twill. And then,
I've had an opportunity to speak with the business owner on 2 or 3 occasions, and when you look at the type of business that this gentleman has embarked upon, renting out bicycles, e-bikes, I think it sends a powerful signal that we're trying to get more people to rely on cycling and bicycling, particularly in our downtown core. Less emphasis on vehicle traffic, and he's put a lot in the line here. I think that it's good for the city if we can have businesses of this caliber flourish in our city. We've got some great businesses that rent and sell bicycles, and I think they're all doing a great job, and that's what we want to see. We want to help participate in that transition, and maybe in a small way, this can help assist with that endeavor. I know that we're going to be doing this for 1 year, and who knows what this will trigger in terms of other businesses trying to recruit more people to either walk, bike, cycle, or whatever the case may be, particularly in our downtown core. I mean, all you have to do is look at the market on Sunday. We shut the entire street off. I think it's fantastic. People really enjoy it. Victoria Row, that was an initiative that began 20-some years ago. What you see, the product you see today, compared to what it was a number of years ago, it's quite a contrast. So I do believe that's what people are looking forward to in our city. It creates a nice atmosphere, and it might even encourage more people to take the transit. So that's a direction I believe we have to be moving in. And maybe, like I said earlier, in a small way, that this can help assist in that endeavor. I know this gentleman's put a lot of time and effort into it. He's got a great product, and I think it's good for the city. I really do. And I think there'll be huge dividends, today when we approve this and in the future.
okay, Deputy? And then Councillor Turn.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also would note that this is just a one-year pilot, and it's actually good timing because in October, all of our COVID patio, temporary patios, as well as our street vendors bylaw, and the patios that fall under planning and heritage are all going to be coming together as one bylaw, and that will be an opportunity where we can apply our strategic plan lens to it, our accessibility lens to it, and it will be a time to ensure that we have consistency and a good policy around, who and how people can access both public and private spaces for these outdoor activities. So I just wanted to point that out, that, this is all coming. This will be a whole new thing in fall for us to have an opportunity to really take a look at how we move forward with our outdoor patios. Thank you.
The stars are lining up. Councillor Matard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Twill, for your comments as well. again, I'm kind of going back to, I agree that this is an opportunity. I see the value for the business owner, but I also see the value for many business owners who are going to want to utilize something very similar. It doesn't have to be bikes, it could be any other merchant on these streets around town here. So, and I'm feeling that with all the patios and everything, like, I just don't know if we're positioning ourselves here. I know it's a pilot, but once the pilot starts, it's not going to be, it'll probably be something that keeps going. So I'm a bit concerned to what we might be setting up here for the future, use of private or for parking spaces. Now, I agree there's going to be some studies in that, and that might come out and help us, but this is one that I feel like we might be opening up Pandora's box here a little bit with these parking spaces. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Beck?
I think with any new initiative, there's always an element of risk involved in changing it. I have had discussions with Downtown Charlottetown Inc. I have had discussions with the owner of the property. I am comfortable in the pilot aspect of it. I don't mind seeing what it looks like. As this is really now, by the time we get at it, it's probably going to be looking like a 6-week pilot as opposed to a 1-year project, 1-year pilot. But I think there's another part that does kind of concern me about this, and this is kind of tagging what the deputy mayor said about our policy with regards to patios. We have to look at how patios are structured, because currently we have patios that are designed to take up 2 spaces that are taking up 3, in effect, just because of the way that they're built. So there's a bigger part of a discussion here that has to happen down the road as we move forward with our whole patio policy, COVID patios, whatever patios we call them. But there has to be a bigger dialogue about that. I personally don't see a big, I don't have a big problem with trying this and seeing what it looks like. The one thing I would question is, how do we measure the success? What's the parameters that the business owner would say that determines this was either a success, either for him, for personal, for the business side of things, or on the other side, how does that detract potentially from the city, or how does it benefit the city? And I think those are important measures that we have to think about as part of our ongoing process when we're going forward with our new procedures, because we are going to be looking at everything in its entirety. This would be one piece of that mosaic that I would say that we would be looking at in terms of moving forward. So I would support it, but I would want to make it abundantly clear, this is a pilot. This is what we're trying this, we're seeing what it looks like, and we'll have a look at it and have a good, honest assessment at the end of the year.
Yeah. Councillor Beck, always the administrator, always talking about the Rubik's Cube evaluation. I like that. So does Councillor McCabe, that's a discussion that will have to take place at the next standing committee for Public Works on how do we evaluate just what he was bringing up here.
And Scott, you're on the line. You can put that on the agenda for us next committee
Good
meeting.
point. I think that's
Certainly.
excellent. Councillor Matard?
Just, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a final comment. Thank you, Councillor Beck. Looking at it from that perspective, and I always like to hear the different perspectives before make a decision. I'm in favor of strictly a pilot with strict criteria coming back to review once that is over. And again, I like the way you put it in the sense of, like, how does it even benefit us as a city? I think that's more important. There's certainly, if we look to say, obviously there's going to be benefits to the business, and that's great, and hopefully it benefits us as well. But I do think there's going to be an opportunity here, if this goes forward, for many other businesses to want to utilize the same thing. So I think we need to be very careful on what we're embarking on here. So I will support a pilot to get that data that we need, and hopefully Mr. Adams, who's on the phone call, has that data that he can report on in the future if we make a decision as to amending any policies to include one space business, whatever, right away. Thank you.
And setting up the criteria to do an evaluation of how it worked and how it could work in the future. And just as Councillor Tweed said, there's a big push in a lot of other jurisdictions to make our municipalities more walkable. Use the old walk and roll. That way people can walk, they can cycle, they can skateboard. Just make it more available for people to get out and walk around. Question? Question's called. All in favor, please raise your hand. Councillor Drawn.
In favor?
Okay, 8-0. The next issue is second reading of the taxi bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. To amend the City of Charlottetown Taxi Bylaw, number 2021-TX-01, to increase the base fares within Charlottetown. Be it resolved that the bylaw to amend the City of Charlottetown Taxi Bylaw was read a first time and carried on July 10th, 2023. Therefore, be it resolved that the City of Charlottetown Taxi Bylaw be read a second time and that said bylaw now be approved and adopted. Moved by Councillor Yankoff, seconded by Councillor Beck.
Shall it carry? 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 Councillor Drawn?
Gary?
Okay. That's it? Okay, I need a motion to adjourn. Councillor McCabe, Councillor Trevor McKinnon, all those in favor? Councillor Drawn?
In favor?
Okay, thank you very much.